There we go.
All right, now we welcome on Drew Hunter to CITIUS Mag Live, the CITIUS Mag podcast. I don't know what we're calling this thing yet, but Drew, you've been a guest on the show before, but this time around it's been 266 days between races, a whole lot of life in between that. I guess the way you put it to Let's Run and after the 5K was a torn plantar, the whole running world making fun of me, a bunch of false accusations against my family and myself. What else? So, Drew, welcome back. We've got so much to catch up on.
Yeah, we do. It's been a while. I thought about last time I was on CITIUS Mag, and I was like, life was real different back then. So,
I want to start off with, I guess, the most recent thing, which was the USATF 5K championships. You come away with the victory, and it's
mhm.
hard because, like, in my head, you're not that high school kid anymore. You're 24 years old. You've won national titles before this. And so I'm kind of curious. There was a lot that was happening in the lead up to this race. But for you, I guess, to mentally put yourself in the position to go up against the likes of Paul Chalimo, Matt Centritz, guys who won, world championship and Olympic medals. Like, I guess, how have you really gotten used to that and do that nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, it still is. It's still really hard. I think that was what made this weekend so special was just winning a race. I'm sure Mac, you can relate to this. It's to some degree like winning a race in the professional level at any race is just. I think that's been the hardest thing, and that's why like I try not to take these wins for granted. I know it's November and it's a 5K on the roads. It's like no one cares, sure, but it's still really freaking hard to win a race. And I came out on top, and that's like something that I want to try to get back to is at least putting myself in position to win as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Winning is, I mean, it's hard no matter what time of year it is or who's in the field because everyone is in sort of different areas of their training. Some people are peaking, some people are on the tail ends of the season, whatever. You never know how well someone's training block is going. So yeah, everything is hard. What was Okay, so when I had those long bouts of injury like you just had, that it seems to just last forever, I always liken that to something like drowning. Like, you can't race, you're just hurt enough so you can't race. And then it's sort of like you're just underneath the surface and then you can't do these workouts. You get a little bit deeper. And then like training runs become difficult. Like you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper away. What what was it like the last 2 years? Because you were hurt even in the 2019. You broke your foot in USA's in 2019, and then plantar and all this other stuff. What was that injury about like for you, and what has it sort of felt like coming back up to being healthy? Because you obviously to perform that well, you've been pretty healthy. So how have you been feeling training wise, and then obviously getting your 5K US champ title?
Yeah, you described it perfectly. It's kind of, I feel like for me is like I've been healthy and fit at all the wrong times of the year as a professional, and so and I know like my Achilles heel, so to speak, is like that, like getting in shape really really quickly, and then all of a sudden being like, oh, I don't have any of that, 3 to 6 months that all the other guys I'm racing against have behind them. And that kind of like you said, so all of a sudden then the wheels start to come off and then they really come off. And I think I've kind of been stuck in that cycle for probably 3 years now. And I'm really trying to break that this year. And just do less, and run significantly less on all workout days, easy runs, all that, but also just know that, like I am talented and I don't have to run 100-mile weeks to be a good distance runner. I think like that's what I want to do. I genuinely love running. I'm pretty sure I say this on every podcast. Like going out for 15-mile days is not a chore to me. Like I actually would like if my body would allow me to do that, I would like to do that. But I just can't. And so I think that's kind of been a big focus. And, coming off this last injury, I ran a race in February, and my planner just afterwards, I just knew right away. Like the same thing happened in 2019 in the USA 5K final. Like I just felt that like kind of like that tear in the race, and I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And I really battled back. But like you said, Mac, it kind of started slowly ticking when it was like before I could manage it, where it was like I could get to workout days and like after the workout, it'd be pretty tender. But then all of a sudden, every single day I'd get out of bed and it would be like, I do not want to step on this at all. And you just cannot compete at a high level against guys when you're going through that. Your mind needs to be so ready for getting 100% out of your body. And I was just I wasn't even 50% there. So I kind of gave up on the Olympics and was like, okay, I'm just going to learn to love running again and learn to, slowly build back up. And that's, I had my first run walk in end of June. And literally it was just like 5 minutes of running. And I'm sure, we've all experienced this. You have those phantom pains. You kind of have the, can I do this again question. So, and I just slowly but surely been building up, did a lot of other cross training, a ton of elliptigo stuff, a ton of, swimming, aqua jogging. And, I've been building up and now I'm right around like, my good week for me is 70 miles. So still not a lot, but like I've been, consistently between probably 50 and 65, somewhere in that range. And with a lot of cross training. And that's kind of all I had going into USA 5K champs. I was talking to my mom before and it was like, we had like 3, A, B, and C goals. And like, hilariously enough, like my A plus goal was top 3. My A goal was like top 5. And then like, I was going to be happy with top 10. I just had no idea what to expect. Hadn't run a race in 10 months. So it was very, very unexpected. And I think like, I want to emphasize that. Like I had no idea that I would feel that good and feel that strong on the hills through Central Park. So, but still got a lot of work to do. And like I said, it's November. Nobody cares if I ran that bad and nobody cares if I ran that well. So, we're moving on.
So 2016, you signed the big deal with Adidas, and I think it was like it was during the trials, because I remember writing that story for Sports Illustrated,
Mm-hmm.
and then this time around, you'd think, you have a strong 2019 campaign, 2020 pandemic happens, everyone's kind of assuming a young rising star like you gets the benefit of an extra year to get stronger, train, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go according to plan. I guess with using kind of like Mac's analogy sort of that drowning, like I guess when were you at your deepest, and then when did you start to feel close to the surface again?
I think when I couldn't run the US trials, I mean, I had the standard in the 15 and 5, like for the Olympic trials. It was like I at least wanted to run that. I feel like to a certain point, it's kind of like one of those bucket list things. And ironically enough, I was one of the first people out in 2016. And then in, 2020 or 2021, I couldn't because of, injuries. So I think that was really, really hard. And that was the first time in my running career that I never doubted. I feel like I never had I had so much self-doubt in myself. Like I just kind of like, I really started to question like if I could do this. I think in my other injuries, I was like, just give me some time and I'll be back. But after this last one, it was like, man, like, okay, do I believe in myself? And like, do I think I actually can be good at running again? I don't know. I think that was like the hardest part. But that's really when I started, working with my mom again, and kind of was, she kind of dragged me out of the mud, so to speak, and really we just went back to the basics. Like I just, did a bunch of barefoot work, got my feet strong, got back in the gym, like, started so slow with running. I mean, sometimes I was just like, are you kidding me? Like this is all I'm doing right now. But it really was like, okay, we're not going to miss out on anything. Got my nutrition right and just really started focusing on all that little stuff. And it comes back quickly. I think that's the other thing I have learned through all my injuries is like, just give yourself 8 weeks of hard work and 8 weeks of like doing everything right. And it's going to suck for a while, but you're going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm. So during people leave coaches all the time in the sport, and obviously your guys' situation just like for some reason just blew up astronomically. Um, Chris, you can ask a
Wasn't
deeper
supposed
question
to.
into that. I know it wasn't supposed to, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you, as an individual, because I know that you're attached to Tin Man and whatnot, but like you as an individual, everyone has to sort of look out for themselves. What were you looking for that you thought you
Mhm.
needed at the time? And what does your mom, Joan, what led you to make that decision? I think a lot of times, and this is me peddling a little bit here, so these are my opinions. A lot of times in situations where an athlete leaves a coach, for whatever reason, the athlete's opinion or thoughts on the matter, like, are sort of just disregarded. It's like, oh, you should just be listening to the agents or other coaches in the sport or the sports marketing people or um, all these other people that are around the situation. But for a lot of times, the people that are in the situation, it's like, oh, it's something's wrong with them or whatever. And relationships
Yeah.
are hard. Like, I'm not saying that's anyone's fault or anything like that, but like, your decision was not respected, I would say, by almost like anybody outside of like your peers, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And what I was looking for was really simple. Someone who paid attention to me, gave me the time of day, and like cared about me as a person. And I think, like that's all I was looking for. Like, I'm a pretty independent person. I don't need to be self motivated. I'm not like, I don't need a coach that's like super rah rah, like, all right, like, let's get pumped up for this race. That's it. That all comes from me. But I do need someone to like hold me accountable and also like just be there for the journey, for all of it, the highs and the lows, and not check in, when I'm, you know, not be there to share the successes, but also just ride with me when I'm struggling. And that was like, I think when we started looking for a coach, it was, you know, I didn't first think of, my mom. I mean, she is in Virginia, and, she's has, 9 kids to raise, including me. And she, was coaching a high school team at the time, and my dad was working back there, and so uh, but I just started to kind of slowly but surely get help from them, like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Or like a lot of these relationships do, you just start to lean on someone else, and start to like you know like sift through all the problems that you're having and be like, let's talk this through. Like, what do you think about this? Or what do you think I'm doing wrong here? And it just slowly kind of built up through that throughout, the winter months when I was really, really struggling. And um, eventually I just decided, like, I do need a change. I think sometimes a change, even if it's like, I think a change in and of itself sometimes is what an athlete needs. Everyone does the same run training, and if they're telling you differently, like, they're lying to you. Everyone's doing tempo runs, everyone's doing race pace stuff, everyone does hills, everyone does speed work, yada yada yada. Like, but what is your relationship with that training, and what's your relationship with the person assigning that? And I didn't have a good one with those two things, and so I needed some self-belief in my coach, and that was like the empowerment I was looking for. And so then, really, it was kind of like getting the whole team on board after that, of just kind of like talking through, like, what do we want? Because most of the team was in the same boat where we knew we needed a change, and we knew, things weren't going well. And so it really was kind of the thing, where it's like, oh, really? We're going to have Drew's mom coach us? Like, I totally get the naysayers and the haters. Like, believe me, like, I was ready to get blasted once this news hit. Like, I probably would, like be the person saying some funny jokes and making fun of that person as well. Like, it's a big time move, and it's like a risky move for sure. But at the same time, like, it's what I believed in, and it's what the other guys on my team came around to believe in. And, it's been night and day different. I think if you ask every guy on the team now, like, how things are going, like, practice is fun again. we're a team again. We believe in each other. We want the best for each other. And so all of that stuff really kind of shows up on race day. And I just had nothing to pull from the last few years. And now I do again.
Yeah, because I feel like, what was it, Joey on the Coffee Club podcast said that you were the first one to really kind of want to make that change. So there really wasn't much of a hesitation when it was like bringing the rest of the team on board. Now I'm curious, like, what was that sort of conversation then like to sit down with your mom and was it an ask to be coached, or was it like pitching her on the idea? How did that come about?
Well, at first I was just like, can you coach me through the Olympic trials and then can we figure this out? You know, that's how it started, was like, I just need I already had like torn plantar, things were not going well, but I was like, can you just like attempt to get me to the starting line in June? And so that was basically how it started. It was like, okay, like, and she was like, and I mean, she's my mom, you know, she just wants to help me. Like, she saw how much her son was struggling and like, was like, okay, obviously I'm just going to like help him for a while. And we also talked, like, I think a lot of people don't realize is like, we looked at other coaches, you know, like I talked, you know, to other people and was really exploring. I mean, I even, you know, at some points when it was really, really bad was like, should I move somewhere else? Like, you know, like it was, you know, there was, I think like, you know, hiring my mom was a Band-Aid for me at the time. And then it all of a sudden turned into like, oh, this is actually like what I want and this is what I deserve. So.
Mac, did you have a spot for him out in San Diego?
No, I did just say if you needed anything out there, though. I did send you a message when all that shit was blowing up.
Mac was very kind. I really did appreciate that, Mac. You have no idea, like, you know, like those messages were the things that I was really freaking holding on to when it was rough, you know. And I'm sure I'm like, at the time it meant a ton. So thank you.
I mean, that's what. When you're going through that stuff, it feels like it's never happened to anybody else, and it feels like it's the biggest thing in the world, and it is because it's your life, like, and it's what means the most to you. And there's contracts and there's relationships and stuff's always public, so everything's really stressful. But yeah, I don't know. I've equally, like, because you know I change groups too, and I think you find really quickly, like, a lot of your peers are actually or your competitors are actually probably the closest people to you, like, because they sort of get it. I don't know.
I was just going to say, yeah, I think almost everyone who I really, really, whose opinion I respected got it. And then it was, you know, 18-minute 5K runners online who thought I was the spawn of Satan. So, you know, it's at the end of the day, when you kind of look at the people who want the best for you, like, they understand. So yes, completely agree.
Absolutely.
How'd you guys shut that out? I mean, cause it was everywhere. And like, you know, it was weird because it felt like we were getting information trickling out this way and that way. And there wasn't like a full clear picture as to what happened until, you know, kind of there was a bit of a resolution. And so was it just like, all right, I'm off Instagram for the next month or so? Or like at that point, like you were injured. So it's like you're spending more time on your phone than too. So it's like it must have been tough to just totally cancel out all the shows.
I was completely off social media for 3 or 4 months. Didn't look at a single thing. That helped. Once I kind of decided, like, I remember I right after my race in February, I got off social media, and I remember the first time I actually went on and posted something was right before the Olympic trials when I wasn't going to run. And I just got off. I got like, when everything first broke, I got so many. I wish I could show you guys some of the messages I got from people that have never met me in my life. It is brutal. And it was just like, it's hard. I think you so often want to be like, I don't care. Like, you know, those opinions don't matter. But like, I'm a sensitive person. Like, I genuinely want people to like me. I think I have to admit that to myself. I think that was hard. Is like, these people have never talked to me in their lives, and they're formulating awful things about me based on a story that was completely misinterpreted, fabricated. And it wasn't supposed to go down this way. When we left with Coach Schwartz, like, it was, both of us were like, cool. It was supposed to be cordial. Like, it was very much like, yeah, like, after the Olympic trials, we'll announce, and like, you'll go your way. And he just straight up lied about that and just did not hold his end of the bargain. And he went to like news sources and told them the most ridiculous sob story you'll ever hear. And at the end of the day, if you're not doing a good job at your job, I don't know why that's such a weird thing in this industry. Like, look at our team's results. They were terrible, Like, it's like, if you're not doing a good job, like, why? I mean, how, with NFL coaches, if you are a bad team for a few years, you are getting the can. Like, that is just so normal. But for some reason in track and field, it's like, I don't know if it's because it's a tinier sport and everyone knows everyone, so you kind of have these like tight knit groups of people that you're like, you don't ruffle any feathers there, and that's what it felt like. So, but really, it's like, look at the results of our team. We had one guy at the Olympic trials, like the year before, 2019, our entire team was basically there. That's a really bad year.
Yeah.
So I think the results speak for themselves, and so far, like, we've had a lot of good results under my mom so far, and we hope to continue that.
So what is the relationship like between like you and Coach Schwartz now? Like, was there ever anything done afterwards to like try and, mend or repair things? Because like part of me is also thinking, it's like he was, he's got his fingerprints behind some of the success you had in high school, and those are things that, you'll never be able to, let go of or forget. And for it to end this way, it kind of does tarnish things a little bit, but you don't want it to be that way forever.
No, it's sad. Like, I mean, I don't have any resentment towards Tom anymore. Resentment does absolutely nothing to make anyone's lives better. Like, you can have the worst thing happen to you, and being resentful about it does not make that situation any worse. I owe so much to Tom, and I would tell him this if I saw him. I haven't spoken to him since it all went down. But if I saw Tom around, like, we actually had a meeting set up to thank him, and he didn't show up. We had, like, and this is, of course, the media not hearing any of this. We had we tried working with him so much to like figure out how he could make more time for us. Like, we really, really tried. I owe so much. I mean, I broke 4 minutes in the mile in high school. I ran under 8 minutes in the 3K, and Tom was coaching me. And like, I am the first to admit that, and first to like be so grateful for like the things I learned from him. But at the same time, like, that's in the past now, and I want to accomplish even greater things going forward.
Yeah. So now, speaking of that, beyond that, like, relationships are just hard. Like, they're hard. And you've been in the sport now for, I mean, I know you're still young, but because you signed a contract, like, what have you been a pro now for, what, for 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah. So you're, so you're still good.
Yeah.
What are your sort of your bigger goals now? And have you found yourself sort of like realigned with being able to make realistic goals out in front of you? Because I know when you're hurt, it's sort of just like, okay, I got to get back healthy. But now that you sort of are in, in the air, in the light, what are the next steps for you? And what are you trying to do? Indoors, outdoors, this cycle now, that's Worlds, Olympics. What are you trying to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think my number one goal, Mac, that is not even running related, is just or not even like performance related, is just stay healthy. I want to show up to everything I need to be at this year. I know that sounds funny, but like that's legitimately a goal. Like I want to run US indoors and just be there. And like if I'm fifth and I'm healthy and I can walk away from that experience being like, all right, like we can get ready for outdoors. Or if I'm first and, I'm like, I am a little banged up. I'm going, I feel like things are going a little bit south from here. Like I'll take that fifth place any damn day of the week now. Like, I realize how important it is to be ready in June and July, and that's my big goal. Is just, doing that. A side note: I've been doing something in practice that I've never done before in my career. I mean, you can ask all the guys I train with. Like, we have assigned reps of like, let's just say, like today we had 3-minute reps. We had 7 to 10. I am choosing to do less every single workout. And that is not me at all. Like I've always been the person that's like, oh, I'm doing 10, And I talked to my sports psych about this, and like I did that leading up to 5K champs because I want to get confidence in my maturity now, not in like anything else. Like I want to get confidence in my consistency, and that's kind of what I'm trying to pull from. So to take that, to take that to actual goals, like I want to run well this indoor season. All my best years, I've run well in indoors. Like that's just a fact of, I've run indoor or a race in February, January, some sort of competitions then. So I'd like to run a good 5K. I think that's my big goal indoors, is run a big 5K at some point at BU. And then, I want to get ready to try to be top 3 at USA's and make a world championship team. I feel like I had that taken away from me in 2019, unfortunately, and I know that I'm capable of competing with all those guys if I'm healthy and happy and on the starting line. So those are my goals.
What's next year's, I guess, like team goals like look like across the board? Obviously, like new leadership in charge kind of helps change, revitalize the culture of the team a bit. Just having been there from the start of it to now, to being 24 years old, I always go back to like it feels like it was just yesterday that the team was just starting and you were out of high school and it was only like 3 guys, but now it's like the other guys definitely look to you as a leader, as being one of the more talented guys on the team as well. So like, how do you try and get those goals that you just mentioned to translate to some of the other guys, even though like, the talent level might not add up. Like for some guys, it won't be making the team, but just getting to the U.S. championships next year. So what's the team outlook for next year looking like?
When we're all healthy and running well, we're all healthy and running well. Because we're such a tight-knit group of guys, I mean, we all basically live together. We meet up for easy runs as much as possible. Workout days we're together. We lift together. Like there is so much like mojo that is correlated when, we're all firing on the same cylinder. So I think, really the team goals are, like to be as, as good as we possibly can be across all events. I mean, we got Brogan, who's coming back from injury. He's been running great on the roads this fall, and he has half champs coming up. I mean, Reed is going to do a spring marathon, TBD on what that is. And the rest of us, have our own individual track goals. I mean, Sam wants to, represent Germany at, world championships, and Goose wants to represent Malta. We have, and then we have a whole slew of guys who, want to be in the finals and whatever their respective events are and just compete. But I think also something that we want to do is, our mission statement from the beginning with Tinman Elite was to push the sport forward on and off the track. And I feel like we've gotten so much more back to being involved with the community and doing some really, really fun stuff with that. And like, we all love that. We've been doing these runs with high school teams around Colorado and, giving shoes and gear out to Tinman of the Week. So basically just a good teammate. And that stuff's been just kind of, another spark for all of us. It's like our times at the end of the day are great and they're things that you can tangibly work towards, but really like, how did you impact people and how did you leave a mark on this sport? And I feel like we want to, those things when we're at our best, we're doing both of those together. So those are the big goals for the team and elsewhere.
it is pretty cool what you guys have made. I don't know, just because people are salty in the sport, everyone's always trying to cut everyone down. But you guys are like you guys have made like you've made with your contract and your friends in your training group, like you've made one of the most valuable things in US running. Like, and you guys did it yourselves. Um, it's not like there wasn't a massive funding behind it. There wasn't, I mean, there was individual contracts, and then it was stuff, it was people doing what they loved and then creating content and then being relatable and having like this inside access to it. Um, what do you guys like? Is that something that you actually like? I know that you guys believe it, but I sort of want to hear you say like, how important is that stuff to you to be accessible, like as accessible as you can be? Because everyone forever has talked about, oh, like a 24/7, HBO series, like sports series. That would be so cool if track and field did it. No one does it.
Yeah.
The sports doc, if someone would do it, oh, that'd be so cool. No one does it. You guys do it. And people love it. Like all of us love it. You guys have a shit ton of views on YouTube and all this other stuff. Like, how fun is that for you? And is it a way to sort of like, I don't know, like let people into your life a little bit?
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, the reason all this stuff went down was because we have a following. It's like, I say this all the time. It's, if no one cares about your coach leaving, no one cares. But if everyone knows every detail of your life and all of a sudden it's a big deal. So Mac, like there's times where I'm like, I wish I was Galen Rupp with no social media at all and could just show up a few times a year and kick everyone's ass and then just like leave,
Oh, he joined Mike Smith. Everyone's like, oh, he joined Mike Smith.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it is a blessing and a curse. And I think at times I was like, I kind of did this to myself, which is true. But genuinely, I mean, I kind of have, all of us, me, Sam Reed, and, Max, who's, our brand manager, like there's so much more we can do with our sport. And I think all of us kind of have that entrepreneurial, like, what are some missing pieces and how can we make this more fun and accessible? Because it is a short, like in terms of, how long I can actually run, like it is a short career, but like, can I turn this into something that I do the rest of my life potentially? Whether it's through, coaching the team or, selling apparel or whatever it may be, community events, any of those things. Like, I think we just thought like there's so much more to do here. And like, you have the luxury of being a pro runner where you can run and then you have time on your hands for a while. So, but we do love it. I think like I would love just to put up a camera in my house. Like even today, it's just like 15 different people coming through, having meetings about different things. Like it is a full on basically startup in my basement. And we just love it. It's so fun. It keeps us like, it keeps us involved. It keeps us, touched. Like it keeps us in all aspects of the sport, like with older runners and high school kids and like in the professional realm, it keeps us so grounded in that sense. And so I think, it just is really, really fun to be a part of. But at certain times I do kind of wish I could step away. We kind of did create a little bit of a monster. So.
Before we get to some listener questions, I do want to kind of touch on like, so with, having to manage this brand and going through the turmoil that it did over the summer, the thought, I mean, there were so many people calling for a rebrand, change the name, whatever. I want to know the rejected Tinman Elite brand renames. So like what was on your like notes doc? What were some of the conversations you guys were having? Like if we did have to change our name, what were you leaning towards?
I mean, I think, something along like like Hunter, just because of, my mom coming in and stuff, like something along those. We didn't really get that far. I think a lot of us were like, maybe I should just retire. To be honest. it was kind of like we're doubling down and we're showing that we believe in what we believe in, and like that we're good people, and that we are so much more than what these let's run naysayers are saying, or like, okay, I'm going to retire and sail off into the sunset and find something else to do. So sorry, that's probably not the answer you want, but
Yeah, I was hoping that there was like a list of totally of rejected
no,
names.
no, we actually didn't get that far. I mean, there were discussions, but yeah.
All right, Mac, let's hit him with some listener questions that were sent in over Instagram.
All right, we'll roll through some of these.
Biggest rival in the sport?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think when I first went pro out of high school, my last 2 high school races, my junior year, like I beat Grant Fisher, and I feel like people kind of like pinned us as rivals, but obviously Grant has my number over the last year, so that's not really a rivalry. I've had people try to start rivalries with me. But I would like to think, when I'm firing all cylinders, kind of like I always like to race the Bowerman guys. I mean, that's the gold standard, right? So, yeah.
It's probably one of those things that you missed out on probably from college. That would have been 4 years of going head to head with a bunch of guys, and you probably would have plucked a rival. Yeah.
Exactly.
Next one.
Being your first race in so long, how'd you handle the pressure and nerves?
I talked to my sports psych a lot about this, and one of my biggest takeaways was how calm and relaxed I was throughout the race, and that's just because like I had already in my mind like gone through that. I kind of have a saying I like to throw out a lot, like you have to envision what you aspire to experience. So like when I was leading up to it, like, I'll just spend aqua jogging in the pool, or even just at the end of runs, just spend 5 minutes. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but even like going through like the noises of New York City, just so like once I'm there, it's not foreign. And like jogging on the streets and running through Central Park. And so that helped me so much that like I felt super, super calm on the starting line, and super, super just like grateful. And I kind of pulled from that gratitude. So it wasn't actually like a ton of pressure and nerves. It was just like, okay, like I'm happy to be here. I'm going to do my best.
All right. Do you want one of the fun questions?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
It's not even a question.
Be my ride a 9.
Be my ride a 9. I did have to look it up, and not to knock anyone that's a 5-minute miler, but
yeah.
If these are the rules of the game that we're playing, you ran 13:53 and won a US 5K title. If you're a 5-ish minute miler,
yeah.
You don't have to answer that. All right, best burrito in Boulder. Here we go.
Best burrito in Boulder, probably Nopalitos. It's right by my house. We go there all the time.
That's like the correct answer, I feel like.
Never been.
What's your current training week look like with running, cross training, etc.? So what are you up to now?
Yeah, so a big change with my mom is I'm on a 10-day cycle now. Our whole team is. So that's actually the biggest change is, 10-day cycle for anyone who doesn't know, like you get in, we have 2 workouts, kind of like a medium long day, and then like a long run, instead of fitting that all into like a 7-day week. So it gives you more time in the middle to kind of have some extra easy days. And that's been huge for me. I mean, I feel like that's one of the reasons I'm healthy now is I just am not getting to that Friday hard workout being like, oh man, I'm just not ready for this. Instead, it's like I have time and I can move things around and I have that flexibility. So I'm running about in that 10-day like cycle, in the 7 days within the 10 days, I'm running anywhere from like 55 to a high of 70. I try to get out every evening, like 5 to 6 times a week, and either elliptigo for 30 to 50 minutes or swim for 30 minutes to an hour. So I kind of like to get in as much aerobic work as I can, but not beat up the body. And then lifting 3 times a week and core on the off days. So Pretty standard, I guess. We all do the same things.
All right, we're back on.
All right, we're back on.
Yep,
You
back
got
on.
a nice message from Sam in our DMs saying "talk your shit, boy," so we could be pretty free flowing here. All right, what was the biggest chip on my shoulder moment since 2019?
I mean, everything that's happened. Whew, that's hard to choose from. I think. I just think, when people started saying rude things about my parents, it was like, okay, all right, just you wait.
So, next one up, Mac. What we got? What shoe do you wear for everyday training? Favorite recovery supplement if you use one? Plug some sponsors.
Supernova, and we have a new sponsor, ProMix. So I'm using their stuff. Yeah.
All right. Next one.
From Shroy, how was the speed suit for your drug test? This is right after.
This is actually really funny. And
yeah, did you go through the top or? Oh wait, no, you got to. You gotta.
No. So I had my bib on and everything. So it was like the most janky thing ever. So right before the race, I had to like pull my speed suit up in the like porta potty to pee, and I was like, oh my gosh. But then after the race, I literally had to unzip and just pull it down to like my knees, and the drug tester was like, all right. So I was like, this is like the least attractive thing that anyone's ever seen right here.
Mustache care routine, and is the mustache a reference to pre? You got a lot of questions sent in about your mustache.
Runners just love the mustache. It must just be a thing. I don't do anything. I need to trim it, in fact, because I'm like half my food's getting in it at this point. And I don't know. I think like I'm not a hairy person, but for some reason I can just grow a caterpillar under my lip. So like I have to own up to it. Like I have like no chest hair. Like I have nothing. So like, but for some reason, like I just can grow a great mustache here. So that's why I do it. That's all I got.
I love that Pre is like the mustache runner, but literally everyone that he raced against also had these massive mustaches, and I love that it's like, oh, Prefontaine mustache, but there's like, literally this is like 74. Literally everybody.
You're like, look at
him.
the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's literally everybody is just covered. Here's our next one.
How has being coached by your mom changed the team dynamic of Tinman?
It's a great question, honestly. I just think, it's a lot. Like I was saying, it's fun to show up to practice now. I think, more, and you can ask, I feel like this is a better question for the guys, but I just think the team dynamic is so focused on like the group as a whole again, and like emphasizing that like when we're all running well, you're going to reach your individual goals. And so I think that's been good, and just so much more communication. That's like the biggest thing is like my mom's so good at that, is like she's constantly being like, how are you feeling today? Like, was that too hard? What was your effort level? Like, did we do too many? Did we not do enough? And I think like that has really made it like everyone's so open at practice, and there's not like this animosity of like, oh, you're not training hard enough or you're doing too much. It's just like we all trust each other that we're doing what's best for everyone.
We got any more? What was it like in those 10 months of not racing? How did you mentally prep to race again? You talked to your sports psych a lot. Anything else that we haven't touched on?
Honestly, I just like, that was like what I was so nervous about, was I was like, do I remember how to do this? Like, do I remember how to hurt? Like, practice is different, but like a race hurt I was afraid. I was like, am I going to get to 2 miles and just be like, oh my gosh, like I cannot do this. So I think I kind of like told myself like how hard it was going to be going in, and that made it significantly easier.
What else we got, Mac? Was
We've
you
got 3
surprised
more.
by some of the hate? 3 more. All right. Was he surprised by some of the hate, especially from fellow athletes after the coaching split up? I didn't really feel like it was too much from fellow athletes, right?
No, because they get, like Max said, they get it.
Yeah.
It was just from a bunch of old dudes who were friends with Tom. Let's be honest. I think I was like saying just like very, very crazy things. I'm just, I don't know. I feel like if you don't like someone, they've either done something to wrong you, which is maybe it's justified then, or they're just have an insecurity that is like so prevalent. And it just showed like how many people were like, I mean, I've never talked to them. It's like, how have I ever wronged you? You know? So that was just interesting to me.
Go-to pre-race meal. I feel like you've probably answered this hundreds of times on a podcast, but everyone wants to know.
Like the night before, I'll just go to like we went like before 5K champs. Like I normally like to have some sort of pasta dish, like everyone else. But then like the morning of the race, I had like some overnight oats that I've been eating. And I just like had those like 2 or 3 hours out with a banana. So just super easy, light on my stomach. I'm used to it.
All right.
The wildest one I think I've ever heard is Ben True with like a whole sleeve of bagels. Like that one I can't ever get out of.
Oh, God. Just
Yes.
feeling like
Is there
trash.
Is there one on the team who's a big like eater beforehand?
That's a good question. Oh, Brian Barraza can literally like he could eat an hour before his race like a taco and would be fine. He just has like a gut of steel. But then like some of the guys on the team will like have like a walnut like 6 hours out, and like so it's very different.
I was closer to that side.
What does your cross training look like? A lot of hours in the pool, elliptigo, right?
Yeah, I like to get like I was saying, like 30 minutes to an hour of something in the evening. Like after this, I'm going to the pool for a 45-minute aqua jog and do some intervals. But I've loved the mountain bike elliptigo. That thing like has helped me so much. Like I just smash on that thing as much as I can.
All right, I think that's it for the questions.
That's it. Well, I was curious just because like I know Sam is a F1 guy, and we had Molly on, who's also like an F1 fan. Have you joined in the craze as well?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
All right. We're just gonna make it a recurring thing. We're gonna ask everyone about Formula One. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are.
It's something I definitely could get into. But yeah.
Drive to Survive.
Cool. Well,
I'm sure someone on your team has tried to get you to watch that for at least inspiration for content creating for your guys' club.
This is actually a question I'm going to ask you guys. What do you feel like? Do you ever feel like our stuff is phony? Do you like what would you want to see more of? Like, or is it, or you know, I feel like I never asked that question, so I'm going to ask that.
I don't watch a ton of YouTube content, but I feel like you guys are about as open as like obviously no one can be 100% open, and I think no one really expects that. But like I really liked the Reed's marathon video, like the whole that I thought was excellent, and your guys' like 5K stuff. Like training videos are training videos, and workout videos. I feel like most of that stuff is like similar with everybody, but I think the process of like last workouts, traveling, what it's like, is really interesting to a lot of people because it's different because it's the professional aspect, but also it's extremely similar to someone in high school that's going to a state meet. And I think that is like an extremely powerful and valuable thing, for people to see, and get like real emotions. 'Cause you can't fake what you did before. Like you care about your 5K race. Like you can't be like, oh, let's put on a show for the camera and then also go win and then also have like a fake response or emotional response from the race. So I think like there's like nobody else doing that, and I think that stuff is like extremely valuable, really cool to see. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the vlogs, especially like I obviously saw the one out of the Texas qualifier, the Kansas City qualifier. I mean, the 3-part documentary series that you guys did at the end of the summer was really well done. I kind of would go less so on the like narrative side of things that than Mac just said, because like you guys are crushing that right now. I want to see more of like the fun videos where it's like you get a little bit more personality behind it. There was that one video I think where it was like three of the guys answering questions that were like on like index cards, and it were just like questions that came out of the field. Yeah, and kind of like continuing to rip off of like Formula One. We see that so much like from the team pages. Like they want to like get as much personality out of their drivers, and so like they're constantly doing videos where like they're pairing up the two guys to do, you know, either like they put headphones on or singing a song, and it's up to the other person to identify what the song is, or like they're answering like the internet's most like biggest questions about them and that kind of stuff. So if you guys get like Max or one of the interns to just work up graphics, that kind of stuff can also be really fun as well. And I think that serves more to like the period where it's like less, when there's less races and you have like these couple weeks where there isn't much going on. Like that's filler content for sure. But you guys are doing things really well, so I would just say.
Oh, here's a question. And I don't know if we're gonna post this. How does it feel? Because I've seen some of the stuff. And everyone copies everyone. But how does it feel for you guys knowing that there is like big groups, bigger brands that have just straight up just copied or implemented exactly what you guys are doing? Does that feel good? Is it like kind of bullshit?
About this. I won't say who it is or what brand, but it was a higher up in a brand, and they go, and she told me to my face, she goes, "You guys have no idea, but every big running brand is literally with PowerPoints having Tinman Elite as like the gold standard of what to do with our teams." And it was like the highest compliment from like this person, because I just like, you know, like I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I'll get a job one day when I'm done running. So that was kind of like, yeah.
Right. But then they turn around and then they won't, like, we don't need to get too far into this, but then they won't pay someone like Max a real salary. Like that job doesn't exist anywhere. I know, right. No, I know, I know you do, but I'm saying coming from those, totally. They don't exist. It takes 8 months to come up with like a 15-second Instagram campaign for some people. And nothing works like that anymore. Like you have to be able to do it in 24 hours. Or in like Nike's case, they have those groups and all those athletes that are at that track every single day, and they don't post about it on Nike Running's Instagram account. It's their alternate account, and it's like, oh, if this is the gold standard, they're literally just walk down to the track. I don't, it's
Yeah, well, we had Joe Hale as an intern, and his job was literally to just have his iPhone and just take it out at practice and like film us. And like, that is the most interacted content. I feel like people don't realize that. Mac, on YouTube, what you said, so Reed's marathon video is like the #1 liked, most viewed. So you're like, it's so funny that you said that one, because that is exactly what people want. But then like Chris, exactly like with that stuff where we just pull out the iPhone and do those goofy questions and stuff like that on Instagram, that is like, people love that. Like that quick kind of like TikTok-y, like 60 seconds. But then when people are on YouTube, they're like, we want kind of like that long narrative of like, okay, like tell us the whole story. So it's so cool kind of like seeing that and the analytics behind all of it.
That's cool. I don't think it's any secret that you guys have caused some people to change how they view how professional running is shown on social media. It's really cool. It's awesome because everyone's talked about doing it forever, and then it took you guys just doing it yourselves to actually get the bigger companies to realize it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. All right, Drew. Well, thank you. We'll let you get to your aqua jog, and thanks so much for joining us. This is a lot of fun, and best of luck to you and the team in the year ahead, because you guys have some big goals that you've vocalized, and I'm excited to follow along.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it, chatting. It was really fun.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it.